What made you straight up nope out of a relationship? My boyfriend Jake was the sweetest guy ever. He'd leave little notes in my lunch, surprise me with flowers, and always remembered the tiniest details about my day. We'd been together for 8 months and everyone said I was so lucky to find someone who cared that much. He was attentive without being clingy, romantic without being cheesy. Perfect boyfriend material. But then weird stuff started happening around my apartment. I'd come home from work and things would be slightly moved. My coffee mug sitting in a different spot on the counter, books rearranged on my shelf in a different order, a picture frame turned at an odd angle. At first I figured I was just being paranoid or forgetful. Maybe I was more scattered than I thought. Then my friends started acting strange around me. They'd mention conversations I supposedly had with them that I didn't remember having. Sarah said I called her crying about work drama that never actually happened. My coworker mentioned I'd texted her asking to switch shifts when my phone showed no such text. My mom said I'd called asking for money to help with rent, but I never made that call. I started feeling like I was losing my mind. Was I having some kind of breakdown? Memory problems? I'd always prided myself on being sharp and organized, but suddenly I couldn't trust my own recollections. Jake was incredibly supportive through everything, always listening to my concerns with this worried expression. He'd rub my shoulders and suggest maybe I was just stressed from work. He even offered to help me find a good therapist for my memory issues. The breaking point came on a Tuesday afternoon. I'd left work early with a migraine and came home to take a nap. As I quietly unlocked my apartment door, I heard a familiar voice coming from my kitchen, but I lived alone, and Jake wasn't supposed to be there until evening. I crept down the hallway and peeked around the corner. Jake was sitting at my kitchen table with his back to me, talking on his phone, but the voice coming out of his mouth wasn't his deep baritone. It was mine, my exact voice, down to the way I pronounced certain words and my nervous laugh. He was having a conversation with someone, pretending to be me. I heard him say things like, "Oh, I'm just having such a hard time lately, and I don't know what I'd do without Jake. He's been so patient with my issues." The voice was so perfectly me that if I hadn't been standing right there, I would have thought it was a recording. I stood frozen in shock as he continued the call. He was telling whoever was on the other end about how grateful I was for their support, using inside jokes and references that only I would know. The conversation went on for 10 more minutes before he finally hung up. That's when the pieces clicked together. For months, Jake had been studying my speech patterns, my mannerisms, my relationships. He could mimic my voice so perfectly that he'd been calling my friends and family, creating drama and manipulating situations while I wasn't around. He was the one moving things in my apartment, gaslighting me into thinking I was losing my memory. He was essentially living a second life as me, controlling my relationships and my reputation. I tiptoed back to the front door and slammed it loudly, pretending I'd just gotten home. Jake appeared in the kitchen doorway with his normal voice and that concerned boyfriend expression. "Hey babe, you're home early? How are you feeling?" I looked at this person I thought I knew and realized I'd been dating a complete stranger, someone who had been methodically studying me like a character he wanted to play. When I confronted him about what I'd overheard, he didn't even seem embarrassed or ashamed. He just shrugged with this eerie calm and said, "I wanted to know what it felt like to be you. You have such an interesting life." I packed my bags that night and stayed at my sister's place. Jake texted me for weeks using his normal voice, acting like nothing had happened, asking when I was coming home. But I kept thinking about that perfect imitation of my voice and wondering how long he'd been practicing it.